field, right? These are sometimes ancillary duties, and we're calling from other agencies to try to jump in. And tracking underwater is an extremely difficult thing to do. So I think part of our debrief on any of these situations is how do we figure out to improve our services, work on our resources and the way that we use them. A lot of this equipment is high end, very expensive, and you really need to have a lot of practice and expertise. And I think that's where a group like Adventures with Purpose is able to focus and practice those skills and really hone them. And so we're appreciative that they were able to come out and locate it. I also don't want to take away, though, from anything from our volunteers, as well as law enforcement that have been out there. I mean, we literally had people swimming in the water looking down so that we didn't disturb the ground initially. You know, my understanding is the vehicle was upside down. That all why we weren't able to do it. I also could say that we eliminated a lot of areas that we would still be searching if we didn't have all the great people out there. And that helped give them some guidance as well, I think. But clearly their expertise in diving and their equipment that they brought to the table assisted us, and we appreciate that.
Do they specifically have any specific technology that all of these 16?
They don't have the red tape that makes tape, and why might it be easier for a person to do this?
I don't know exactly what we're talking about in regards to red tape. I think that from the very beginning, we never deterred anybody other than certain scenes that we closed off at times that became areas of interest and we wanted to protect for evidence. So I don't know that there was any red tape ever put on this. I mean, if you look at the amount of man hours that went into it, it was like over 15,000. And I know it's even higher than that now. I don't think there was ever red tape. There were maps created for civilians to be out. The boat ramp in the lake were never actually shut down because the way we were looking at it is more eyes out there, the better off we're going to be for finding Kiely, and that was continually the goal. So I'm not sure that there was ever red tape. I think it comes down to lots of factors, and like I said, we're going to debrief and try to figure out how do we become better and do a better job at these types of operations.
Why did agencies believe it was an abduction at first?
Yeah, I think there was a lot of miscommunication. I don't know that it was ever labeled as an abduction. I think that you can never take that off the table. And so as we talked as a command group and unified command with all my partners that you see behind us, you couldn't remove that off the table because we hadn't found her. And so, that was some of the struggles with some of the services that we wanted to obtain and things we wanted to do, but we couldn't say it wasn't an abduction, but we also never said that it was an abduction. I think that was clarified fairly early on. But we also probably wouldn't have received all the services and all the people if that wasn't an option. If this was truly a search and rescue mission, we may not have had all the resources to conduct interviews. I think they identified over 400 juveniles, and to be able to interview all of those folks and provide feedback off of all that, it takes an army of people. And I think we were lucky to be able to put that together between my partners and agencies that are right behind me.
Did any of the juveniles, anybody mention a car going over the side, a car in the water, out of all those?
I don't believe that statement was made, not to my knowledge.
Was there any indication that this was an accident or foul play?
That's still being investigated. If we'd like, we could turn it over for CHP can give some information. They are conducting the accident investigation utilizing their MATE team.
Good morning, Josh Ellers, Assistant Chief of CHP Valley Division based in Sacramento, which Truckey's a part of. I can confirm that our department is conducting a fatality traffic collision investigation. We're harnessing all of our resources, working with all of our partners here. As you see, we're utilizing our MATE team, our multidisciplinary accident investigation team, to harness more data from the vehicle that was recovered. We've utilized all of our air resources to map and video and take photographs of the area in question. And that's currently ongoing, so I can't comment on the nature and details of that investigation, but I certainly appreciate all the partnership that we have here with our local county and state partners. We'll continue to assist in any overarching way that we can as an agency.
Do we know how close the vehicle was to that actual party site?
I don't have the exact location in terms of distance, but it was relatively close to the area in question.
Like a few hundred yards or half a mile?
I couldn't say. I haven't seen the exact data and the mapping. That's still ongoing.
Did many party goers leave by the same route?
Now, I can't comment on all that, what I can tell you is, and I think it's been discussed, is this is a very popular area. There's a lot of foot traffic, a lot of vehicular traffic on and off road. So certainly crisscrossed and a lot of extensive movement in that area continually throughout this time of year.
Is there any suspicion that it could have been another car who maybe hit this car, or was it a one-person car situation?
I don't have that information that I could comment on at this time. What I can tell you is we'll do a thorough investigation. We'll take every bit and piece of information that we have, including what's already been provided to us, and we'll reach some conclusions that will be provided to the parties of interest with that.
Before Adventures with Purpose went out there this weekend, when was the last time that we had swimmers or divers from New York, any of these 16 agencies out there searching that area?
I'd defer back to the Nevada County Sheriff for that question. Thank you.
Yeah, I would say that we actually had divers, not necessarily in Prosser, but in lots of bodies of water up until even the days that they were there. There were many ponds they were following up on Coldstream, as well as other bodies of water. So I don't know that dive teams ever discontinued. It was more of trying to still follow up on all of those things. And I believe Adventures with Purpose also had been diving at other lakes as well within the area.
Is there any time from the time that Adventures with Purpose started, how long it took them to find it?
You're talking on Prosser Lake specifically?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was relatively quickly, but I don't have an exact time. Like, again, we're gonna have to debrief with them, figure out, between putting equipment down, getting in the water and identifying where the car was at.
Can you talk about what happened last night in terms of taking the car out? What kind of law enforcement was there and what happened last night?
Yeah, I mean, I think most of the law enforcement partners you see behind me were present during that time, trying to do the best they could for ensuring that everything was done correctly and also trying to add some levels of privacy to the best of the ability in worrying about the family and ensuring that they were covered as well. But I mean, beyond that, I don't know what your specific question is asking.
Logistically, how do you get a car out that's offshore? How does that happen? And then where does the car go? What happens? What happens from last night to when you arrived to today?
Yeah, so once the car was located, dive teams were assembled. I believe Placer County was probably still the primary dive team. They have to use lots of devices to lift the car, turn it over, and then the use of tow trucks was what made it possible for pulling the vehicle out of the water. And the vehicle is taken down. The FBI has offered up assistance and are going to be helping to conduct investigation regarding the vehicle itself and making sure that we don't miss something that may be in there that we're not aware of.
Are you guys confident the car was in the water since the night of the party?
I have no reason to believe that it wasn't, but until we have those answers, I wouldn't know the answer to it.
Can you just clarify as far as what teams had been in that area before Adventures with Purpose, if any, on that specific, on Prosser?
Yeah, I mean, it's almost so many that it would be hard to link out between the different teams. There were numerous boats, Yuba County, Alameda, Nevada County, Placer County. Swimmers came from Washoe County. We had divers from every single one of those agencies and then some. I mean, it was a vast amount of people. And I would just say, unless you've conducted these types of searches and tried to do it, it does take a level of expertise and nothing's perfect. When you fly a helicopter over the air trying to identify if something is there, most places give that less than a 5% probability of detection, meaning if you flew over, you only have a 5% chance of seeing something. You had trees and brush and bushes and dirt and all these other things, and it becomes a pretty difficult task. Even though once you find the answer, on hindsight, everything looks 20/20. The reality is it's not that simple. It is pretty complex and it's tough. So again, we're just appreciative that the resources came out and were able to help us in locating.
Were there signs that the person in the car tried to escape?
I think that's too preliminary for us to be able to determine that at this time.
Was there more than one body in the vehicle?
No, there was not more than one body in the vehicle.
Describe the difficulty of what water does over 2 weeks to evidence.
It depends. That's a complicated question. I'm not an expert in water. However, temperature of the water and things like that come into play. But it can add difficulty based on many factors that can cause damage to obviously things that we want to look at to investigate, but also to bodies that may have been submerged for a period of time.
There likely could have been tire tracks or some type of signal that a car did go into the water there. Did rain impact that? Did this heavy activity in the area impede seeing those signs?
I think everything's a factor, but again, that's where we rely on the MAPE team from CHP to come in with their expertise and be able to provide some of those answers.
And it seems that Adventures with Purpose have pretty sophisticated equipment. Is this something that the agencies here have, or are you all still need?
Yeah, I'll have to debrief with them to figure out what equipment exactly they use to see if it's items that we have or if it's a matter of training with the items that we have. So until we talk to them and know exactly what they used and how they went about it, I wouldn't be able to answer that correctly.
They also said the car was 14 feet deep. Did y'all go that far to look for the car?
Yeah, some of that information is sometimes deceiving. So yeah, the car was reported at 14 or 15 feet. However, the water level since the 6th has also dropped a vertical 3.5 to 4 feet, which could be 20 to 25 feet off of shore. So a lot of things have changed in those aspects. Until we really can look into all that information and sort through it, it's difficult to say whether those factors had a play in it or not. I think it's still more important for us to debrief, look at training, look at equipment, look at tools, and look at outside entities that are experts where this is maybe their full-time gig that they do, and try to see how we have that involvement from the community to come out and help support.
At this time, can you tell if there are any signs of foul play?
At this time, we're not gonna be able to say anything like that.
It's been said that people were drinking at the party that night. Was anything found in the car that could lead you to believe that she was drinking that, where the person found was?
Yeah, the investigation's ongoing, so we're not gonna be able to comment on that.
Seemed like where they found the car, it might have been pretty far from the road. Do you have suspicions that maybe the people were parking on that little island?
I wouldn't be able to comment on that either unless somebody gave some statements to that. I hadn't heard any information like that.
Do you have any theories as to how the car got in the water, and also what gear was the car found in?
I think if I make up theories, then I'm just guessing, and I'm going to lead us back into a trail that's not certain. So we'll wait until we have those facts and details. And as far as the car, we're not going to release any information until we've done a solid investigation on it.
Who received the first call from Adventures with Purpose, and what was that call like?
I don't know that we received a first call. I think we reached out to them after we read it online. And so I'm not sure, I mean, again, with 150 law enforcement officials, it's possible that a call came in and something happened. But from the Unified Command and talking with my partners, none of us were aware of an initial. So we tasked the investigative sergeant with contacting them and reaching out. So I believe, best I know, we did that proactively on our end.
And they contacted the family?
I think there's still some sketchy details on exactly how that contact went out. So I don't want to speak on behalf of the family.
What was it when you personally, when you heard that they might have found the car? What went through your head?
Well, I think what we all are thinking, which is hopefully this is true, and we got a lot of work ahead of us to make sure that we still do right by the family. Our biggest concern is making sure that the family has been aware of everything from day one, and that we're not shielding them, but we're also not bombarding them with things. There's a lot of ups and downs throughout this investigation, a lot of emotional turns throughout the whole thing, and our goal is to make sure we're supportive of the family throughout this whole task and doing our best in that.
How long will an investigation into the car, maybe that's for Highway Patrol or FBI, how long does an investigation to look at a car take to figure out what may have happened?
I mean, I think there's a lot of factors in that. I don't mind turning it over to CHP and let them.
Because obviously we have a multifaceted investigation with multiple agencies, it can take time. The FBI is working, evaluating the vehicle. We have to come in and do that. We want to allow them to work. We'll come in and examine data, examine the vehicle, have all of our investigators look at that car. So depending on circumstances, it can be several days, it can be several weeks. We also want to wait on other information related from the coroner's office and other things that all get compiled into a comprehensive investigation. So the easy answer is it could take a while.
All right, we've had the opportunity to hear from most reporters. Most have asked 2 questions. Is there anybody that had a follow-up question that they have not been able to ask yet? Go ahead, sir.
There was a report that Adventures with Purpose was told by police that they did not need to search Foster, or at least in the specific area where the car was found, because that had been extensively searched already. Is that true?
Yeah, I'd say that's probably not accurate. And we shared maps, ping information, and locations. And so we probably shared that was extensively searched and sonar was used, and that may add to the level of where they chose to go to first or last. However, nothing was prevented or shared. And I don't believe that we gave any indication that we thought we knew where she was at, because clearly from all of our daily press releases, we reported over and over again that we didn't know where she was at, and we needed anybody's help and assistance in finding that location.
But you were working in partnership with Adventure with Purpose.
Yeah, I believe that what ultimately occurred was that our sergeant was able to make contact with them, Sergeant Powers with the Placer County Sheriff's Office, come up with a plan and share information on where things were at. So we're still appreciative, like I said, of them being able to locate the vehicle.
Will they get the cash reward for helping find the vehicle and the body?
That's not a question I'll be able to answer.
May I ask, have you been able to determine a cause of death, and will there be a toxicology report conducted?
The question was, have we determined cause of death and will there be a toxicology inquest? Yes. Autopsy is scheduled for tomorrow. Toxicology results generally take 4 to 6 weeks for a return on those. And at that time, we will provide that back over to Nevada County.
Does anyone from the family want to make any comments at this point specifically about this massive search and all the tips that came in?
Don't believe they do at this point. Yeah. So with that, we'll go ahead and wrap up the press conference. Thank you all for coming here today. We certainly appreciate it, and pay attention to both Placer County Sheriff's Office as well as Nevada County Sheriff's Office as we continue to share details as they become available. Thank you.
Breaking news on WFLA Now. Here's JB Buno.
Pending positive ID, authorities believe the body of 16-year-old Kiely Rodni has been found in California by volunteer dive team Adventures with Purpose, but how Rodni ended up in Prosser Lake remains unknown. Hey there, folks. JB here with you live on WFLA Now. That was the press conference from California where we got the update. Authorities believe that it is in all likelihood that Kiely Rodni is the body recovered in the silver vehicle pulled from Prosser Lake. They did confirm that the vehicle that they were looking for is the vehicle that they pulled from Prosser Lake. And a lot of questions coming through in the Facebook Live and YouTube Live comment section. We'll do a little bit of a quick Q&A to get you up to speed on this story. For those of you unfamiliar with this story, of course, this goes back to August 6th, a big party in Northern California, hundreds of students in attendance at that party. The full story on WFLA.com. It was a senior send-off, but soon thereafter, Kiely Rodni went missing, didn't turn up at home, didn't turn up anywhere, and her vehicle was also missing. Very unlike her, according to friends and family. Very, very strange that she would just vanish after this party. And this massive search would go underway. There was a lot of talk about whether or not Kiely Rodni was kidnapped. What happened to her became really a mystery that enveloped all of Northern California, really much of the country, following the Kiely Rodni story. And so many questions were asked, but we get the biggest answer through Adventures with Purpose, a volunteer dive team that we have spotlighted here on WFLA Now. They have done work in Central Florida, bringing a case to closure. That's really what they do. It's their mission statement to bring closure to families who are desperately searching for loved ones. They are a volunteer dive team that uses specialized equipment and experience that they have in traversing through lakes and rivers and creeks and trying to find missing people. It is a very specialized group, and within hours of being put on the ground there, really in the water in Northern California, they have the discovery in Prosser Lake, 14 feet underneath the surface of the water. They find the upside down vehicle that authorities had been looking for. And inside that vehicle, they find a body that authorities now believe that is likely Kiely Rodni. So let's first, I had a comment that was pulled up here with hashtag HJB, and I'll try to get back to that. Nope, it won't even let me scroll back up that far. Oh no, here it is. Let's see if we can get this comment. Here it is. Relinquished, hashtag HeyJB. And again, you can use hashtag HeyJB, and I'll try to animate your comments out of the Facebook Live and YouTube Live comment sections to talk a little bit more about this story. Why can AWP post on their Facebook and on their YouTube that the body was indeed Kiely inside, but police are still sticking to the remains, are still being unknown? Police have a process, and a process that is guided by policy on positive identification of bodies when they are discovered in water or otherwise. When remains are discovered, it has to go through a thorough process to 100, not 99%, 100% verify that the person that they have, the remains that they have, are that of the person that they are looking for. And so they have that process that they have to stick to. And so while all the signs are pointing to this being Kiely Rodni, according to authorities, they of course cannot say that until it goes through a very thorough identification process. And then of course the autopsy, as we found out, is going to be performed tomorrow. Why can Adventures with Purpose post it? Because they might be able to get some very telltale obvious signs. They can match the body characteristics. Sometimes when remains are found, you will find things like a wallet on that person. You can find certain obvious things that make it very, very clearly obvious and make it 99% sure that they have the person that they're looking for. But police don't go by 99%. They go by 100%. So Adventures with Purpose, they are a volunteer group. They have their own process separate from law enforcement. But, this is very interesting what we have from this press conference. A lot of questions being asked to law enforcement as to why law enforcement wasn't able to find why they were also searching Prosser Lake and why they were unable to make the determination or make the discovery for themselves that Kiely Rodni was in Prosser Lake all along. And of course, there's been so much news that has come out of Northern California. I'm in Tampa. I'm in Florida. I am a ways away, and I really want to point to some of the hardworking local journalists on the ground there in Northern California that have been covering this story day and night for the last couple of weeks. Really, you ought to give them a follow. I have been following, of course, from a distance, a considerable distance, but keeping an eye on this story very, very closely. And so, so much has been made of the amount of man hours and the amount of money that has been put into the Kiely Rodni search. And there are going to be some difficult questions that have already been asked in this press conference and asked in future media availabilities as to why Adventures with Purpose, a volunteer group, was able to find Kiely Rodni relatively quickly and do so and share the news on the internet, how that process was able to happen so quickly while we have, of course, law enforcement in California that were unable to make the same discovery despite their own search efforts at Prosser Lake. And we'll talk more about that in a minute. I think we're going to get a lot of comments about Adventures with Purpose and talk about how highly tactically specialized of a group that they are. They really do have they have a gift. They have a gift, and clearly, while we could never celebrate this discovery, and no one would ever celebrate this discovery, this is a discovery that does in fact bring closure to the Rodni family, bring closure to this community that has been fearing the worst now for days and weeks, desperately searching for Kiely Rodni. So we'll talk more about Adventures with Purpose in a moment. The big thing that's secondary to me. The big thing in this story is that we still don't know how she ended up down there 14 feet underneath the surface of the water. We don't know what her vehicle was doing down there and whether or not this was a terrible accident or whether or not there was foul play. We have no idea at this point what happened between Kiely Rodni leaving that party and ending up deceased in 14 feet of water at Prosser Lake. That is the number one priority right now as far as getting a question answered. The discovery of her remains and all of the manpower that went into searching anywhere beyond Prosser Lake, that's I think a secondary conversation. Right now, it's about finding out whether or not this is a tragic accident or something more sinister at play as far as what happened to Kiely Rodni. We still don't have any answers to that question, but at least the Rodni family can have some closure knowing that that the remains of their 16-year-old have been recovered and that they can say a proper goodbye to Kiely Rodni and lay her to rest. JB here with you live, folks, on WFLA Now. What I'll start to do is take some questions here on Facebook and Facebook. I'll just look really quickly because we do have to wrap up the live stream on Facebook. We cannot stay as long on Facebook as we can on YouTube. So we're going to start with Facebook and then we're going to hop over to YouTube. This is an excellent question from Laura. There was a lot of breaking up in the press conference, and I did not hear about the phone. I'll try to get some better concrete information about Kiely Rodni's phone. Talking about Adventures with Purpose now, let's go over to this comment really quickly from the WFLA Facebook page from Janine Johnson. Hashtag KJB. They have better equipment than police. Police have a tight budget and can't afford or don't choose to put their money in better sonar. And this is going to be a very valid question that is going to be put forth. And it's not because law enforcement is choosing to have inferior technology or inferior resources at their disposal. That's never how it is. It's just whether or not, it's whether or not they have the resources at their disposal that they can afford. We'll talk more about Adventures with Purpose here in a minute. But again, trying to stay focused on how Kiely Rodni ended up there at the bottom of Prosser Lake. We're going to end our Facebook stream. For those of you who would like to join our live Q&A and our chat back and forth here, we're going to continue to do so on the WFLA YouTube page, saying farewell to Facebook, and we'll see you over there in a few minutes on YouTube Live. Again, JB here with you live, folks, in the Stream Center. Hello there to you. Again, heartbreaking news that we're sharing from California, but it's news that really broke on the internet yesterday when Adventures with Purpose posted on their Facebook page, and I have the Facebook post, and it reads as follows: "We just found Kiely Rodni, cars upside down and only 14 feet of water. We have confirmed Kiely is inside. Family notified, law enforcement on their way. We will be on the scene the rest of the day. We will have a live stream tomorrow, and we'll make an announcement as to what time later this afternoon. Thank you, everyone, for your support and donations in getting us here to help Kiely and her family." So that was the announcement that really sent shockwaves across the internet, because we weren't expecting Adventures with Purpose to have such success in their mission to find Kiely Rodni in such a short amount of time. But they were able to do so as far as locate the vehicle and locate one single person inside. Let's not forget that authorities did confirm that there is no secondary person that was located inside the vehicle. They also could not say whether or not that the person appeared to struggle, if there were any signs of a struggle in as far as getting out of the vehicle. And that, of course, is going to be, and I'm hoping that I heard that correctly. Again, our press conference did break up. That signal broke up because there was so much media stuffed into that one room. A lot of, just signal saturation, as they call it, as far as getting a signal out. It was difficult, of course, for us to maintain a solid signal from the sheriff's office there, from the Nevada Sheriff's Office. But Adventures with Purpose making a discovery in a very short amount of time. And again, I hope I heard that correctly, that they did not, they could not verify whether or not there was any signs inside the vehicle of a struggle to get out. And how they would accomplish that, of course, that's something that law enforcement would have to determine for themselves based on the investigation that is going to, of course, be launched into her death. This now goes from missing persons, let's not forget, to now an investigation into a deceased teen. So the tactics now change, resources change, everything changes now as far as the focus and the intent of the investigation. Carol Alford joins us here on YouTube, hashtag AJB. She was just located, so there's not yet been an autopsy done yet. Prayers for her family. May this young lady rest in peace. Yeah, the autopsy will be performed tomorrow. It will take some time before they can release, and what they would likely do, and I cannot speak for California law enforcement, but it's very common to release a preliminary cause of death in a case of this high magnitude, when there's just so many people clamoring for information, reporters calling, emailing, texting nonstop, trying to get information. It is very common to get a preliminary cause of death pending, of course, the completion of the autopsy and really the completion of toxicology. Because toxicology, if there is a obvious cause of death, it could come out within days. But toxicology, you heard them say, California, the standard right now is 4 to 6 weeks. That's different from some other states. I know that there are folks joining us very familiar with the Cassidy Carley case. That's more of a 4 to 6 month timeline for toxicology. Every state lab, different, with different resources, different staff, so on and so forth. So it can be very difficult to follow state by state what the expected timetable is for toxicology results. But they did say in this press conference it would be approximately 4 to 6 weeks. I did not hear this, and we can. I didn't hear if this question was asked. It was very difficult to hear just because of the acoustics in the room. Hashtag AJB from Keith. Were the keys found in the ignition? And then also too, hold on, from I'm not even gonna try to pronounce that. I think that's a Mad Hater. I'm gonna try that. We're gonna go with Mad Hater, I think, if those are A symbols. Hashtag AJB, was it in park or in neutral? This is also a question that I would like to get answered as well. How the vehicle was found and how the vehicle ended up there, and whether or not drunk driving was involved. Toxicology is going to be extraordinarily important, and also complicated by the remains being submerged in water for a period of, let's see here, that's 2+ weeks. But you know what though? I say 2 weeks. They could not pinpoint exactly when. Um, they couldn't pinpoint exactly when, and that's going to be also a key, the timeline. When was the car submerged? That's another key question. So were the keys in the car? Was the car in drive, park, neutral when it went in? All of these questions. Yeah, I'm with you, Lynn. I didn't hear if about the cell phone. Um, I'm not gonna. I can't say this name. It's got I can't say this name, but this person asks hashtag AJB. Did you recognize the pause by the sheriff when asked if there was another body in the car? And look, don't read too much into pauses, or these law enforcement officials are getting just questions left and right. It has been a grueling several weeks, and so sometimes it just takes an extra second to process the question. If there's a pause every now and again, or sometimes it's looking left and right, or sometimes it's pausing to make sure that you are the correct person. Did you notice how in the press conference certain people were answering certain categories of questions? That's because there's a structure to this from a law enforcement perspective. Certain individuals should be speaking to certain aspects of the investigation, and that's why they were, swapping positions, and certain officials were answering certain questions. So don't look too much into a pause like that. Ellie Powers, hashtag AJB, was there a window open or all, or was it closed? I saw the one picture of a vehicle getting brought up, and I want to see if I can. Where was that picture? I had this picture somewhere. I have too many screens. It's a problem of having a lot of screens. And I did see it, and see if I can bring it up again. Hold on, you guys. Find this image. Here it is. And yeah, I see that the vehicle was covered by tarp. And even if the window is open, we don't know if it was open at the bottom of the lake. These are questions for law enforcement at a later date. This is okay. So this question from KC. Hi, hashtag KGB. Why didn't drones see it? Visibility isn't going to allow for a drone to be able to see 14 feet down, especially a vehicle that is silver in color. Now, had the vehicle been a bright neon, you have a better chance of seeing below the first few feet of water, and maybe seeing a hint of something from something like a drone or a helicopter. But with a silver vehicle, trying to find a silver vehicle when water in and of itself is a silvery blue color, it's going to, of course, be extraordinarily difficult. Reading some other comments. I see what you're saying, TD. I see your comment. and I'll read a few more here before we got to get going. Folks, I would actually like to stay much longer. The problem is that we've got primary night. It's election season here in Florida, and we have a lot of work to do to get ready for our election results live stream tomorrow night. Sophie, hashtag KJB, we missed you covering this case. Yeah, so I kind of explained this a little bit why there wasn't daily live streams, and not saying that there can't be. It's usually a story where, as far as our process here in our newsroom, of course we're here in Florida and we're focused on Florida headlines and Florida news. That's the part of being a local journalist, is that you're serving your community, and you're serving the area in which you reside, the region of the country in which you reside. So we're here in the Tampa Bay area of Florida. And so, but look, we also cover national news. So when we do get enough correspondence from people, and people who say, hey, we would like live streaming coverage of this story, of that story, you can email the station, you can email me, you can message us on Facebook or on Twitter or on Instagram or any of these platforms, an email. We got handwritten letters sent to the station at certain points last year of story recommendations. So that usually dictates and guides our process as far as how we can best use WFLA Now, our platform here, to cover the stories you would like for us to cover. We always have our loyalty to our Florida viewers, but we also do cover national news too. So we're always listening to you, the community out there, our viewers, as far as the stories that you would like for us to cover. Della, hashtag HJB, wouldn't the car have a tracker on it? And I believe it was not all cars have trackers. Some have OnStar type systems. What was the year that Honda? 2013 silver Honda CRV. That's not really that wasn't a time where a lot of cars were coming out with GPS trackers. And if they were coming out with it's usually going to be a higher end model. So no tracker in the 2013 Honda CRV, as I understand it. Otherwise, they would have had more data to guide the process. So let's talk. Oh wow, we're getting in some new news here. Oh my goodness. Okay, stand by, folks. Stand by. Bringing up a new feed. Wow. Take a look at this. We're going to have to update our graphics, but I have it here from Oklahoma. County deputies have been shot. Chopper 4 is on the scene, and this is a live chase in progress. Let's put down the banner here for a second. Back in 60 seconds. To our audience, we are preparing a new live stream on Facebook Live and on WFLA.com, the WFLA app. For those of you on YouTube Live, this is live from Oklahoma. Stand by for streaming coverage.
Hit with another one.
I'm sick and tired of looking on the news. To see these kids missing just sickens my mood. Now I got an attitude. You think I won't battle fool? I will slap the fuck out of you. Maybe I am a radical. I'm charged up with a matador. You don't love the kids, why do you got them for? I tell the truth, how they got out the door. These cases I can't ignore. You damn right, I want your face on the floor. We lacking info pimping, I'ma need more. See, it's the truth that we want. You supposed to love your kid, the truth is you don't. Somebody bring them parents up to the front. Them kids been missing for months.
And now, as we begin the live stream here on Facebook Live, saying hello to our Facebook Live audience, we now have at least a dozen law enforcement officers surrounding what appears to be a single suspect on the ground. Again, reading the very latest here from our sister station KFOR. Shortly before 1:30 p.m. on Monday, emergency crews were called to a reported shooting in the 2200 block of Southwest 78th Street in Oklahoma City. Initial reports indicated that 2 Oklahoma City deputies had been injured in the shooting. Once we were able to get a live feed from Oklahoma City, the suspect had fled the scene in a pickup truck with a boat attached to the back. And that pickup truck came up here to this toll window where now they have the suspect surrounded. At least 20 to 25, maybe more, of Oklahoma's finest on the ground here at this toll location. This is our NBC sister station in Oklahoma City. A little bit of a breakup in the signal here, and there it is back. And now we get a better shot of right there on the curb or next to the curb. You see one person, a suspect, flat on their back, or actually no, it appears to be on their stomach. And again, this is a shooting that, again, according to KFOR, that injured 2 deputies in Oklahoma County. This is in, of course, the